Hello everybody, and welcome back to your practice. Just a really nice chill flow to get moving, to awaken the body, and also just to really drop in and connect to some more yin energy. So as you can see, I have some props guiding me on my journey today. I have a blanket under my knees. This I just feel like makes it a lot more cozy and comfortable. Also, if you have knobbly knees like me, it can be really nice if we're doing anything with our knees on the ground. I have 2 blocks, which you can go without if you don't have any, but I just like them in these more mellow flows to close that distance between my hands and the mat and to make stepping through just that much easier. Also have a bolster here. You can use a couch cushion or just really anything at all. That's going to come in hand a bit later on when we drop into some more longer held postures, but again, you can make do without if you do not have one. So go and get your space ready, do what you need to do, and we're going to find ourselves in a really nice child's pose to begin with. So bring your big toes to touch. Knees are going to come out nice and wide actually. And we're going to just drape our upper body over our thighs, come down into a child's pose. And I just want you to sink in for a moment here. Just find that steady rhythm of your breath. Start to notice the inhales, the pause, and the exhales. Those brief moments of suspension at the top of your inhale. That brief moment of suspension at the end of your exhale. Allow the breaths to start to be a little bit fuller, a little bit longer. You can use these breaths as a way to just connect a little deeper into yourself. Take a moment here just to feel both sides of the waist getting a bit longer. The activation through the hands, the heaviness into the hips. Next inhale, bring yourself up into a tabletop position. Just take a few moments just to wriggle into the spine, maybe shifting some weight into the hands, shifting the hips side to side, making circles, figure eights, whatever you do. I always like to flip my wrists away from me, fingers point towards my knees, just to open into that underside of the wrist. It's one of my favorite stretches. My forearms get quite tight. So this is always a really nice moment for me, just kind of allow them a little bit of love. I'm not going to be super on the hands today, but it's just nice to kind of dip in and allow them a space to restore as well. Take a couple of rounds of cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, lift the chin, heart pulls through, sit bones reach back behind you, cow. Exhale, dome everything in, curl chin to chest, tailbone tucks under, cat. Inhale, unfurl. And exhale, you round. Inhale, open up. And exhale, curl in. So this might be a nice time to bring those blocks, if you have them, underneath your hands. I'm going to place them both out in front of me. My hands kind of sit on top of them. I always kind of like the heel of my hand to kind of press into the closest edge of the block towards me. It just kind of gives me a little bit more grip. Just tuck the toes underneath you and come into a downward facing dog just for a moment. Pedal out through the feet. Feel the heels reaching back towards the mat, heavy behind you. Sit bones reaching up towards the sky or ceiling. Take an inhale, come high up onto the toes, ripple forward into a high plank pose. As you exhale, drop the hips down, keep high up onto the toes as you settle the hips towards the mat, keeping the hips and knees lifted. This little lifted cobra with the toes tucked. Get some activation into the glutes here. Peel the chest and heart through the gateway of the shoulders. Take an inhale here. You can have a soft bend into the elbows. As you exhale, drop the knees down, sink the hips back, child's pose. As you inhale, can you dome through the spine? Make that cat-like position with the back, tucking the tailbone under as much as you can. Inhale, come forward, Shoulders come over the wrists. As you exhale, straighten through the knees, lift the knees, come up into that lifted cobra once again. Inhale, pulls your chest and heart through. Soften into the elbows, create space. Exhale, drop the knees, send the hips back. Child's pose. Keep the toes tucked, straighten the legs, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Inhale high up onto the toes, ripple forward through the spine. Shoulders come over wrists. As you exhale, sink the hips down, toes stay tucked. Inhale, chest and heart pulls through. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Really nice. Stay down onto the knees. Inhale, ripple forward through that cat position. As you come forward, draw the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Take this nice little low lunge. You can untuck the back toe if that feels good to you in your body. You can even shift the height of your blocks if you want a little bit more extra space underneath there, especially in these first few moments of our class, maybe the first few moments of your day. Be gentle with yourself. Go to where it feels good into your body. And you keep sending the hips forward and down, maintaining that posterior tilt of the tailbone. So you're really tucking the tailbone under here, keeping integrated through the core, long through the spine. And then exhale, you're going to shift the weight back, send the right foot back to meet the left, sink the hips towards your child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward, shoulders come over the wrists, lift the knees, straighten the legs, cobra. Inhale, chest and heart pulls through, toes stay tucked. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, roll and ripple, dome yourself up towards that tabletop position. Left foot comes to the outside of the left hand, sink the hips, low lunge. And just find some space here. Feel free to take some wriggles if you need to. Just feel into your low lunge today. And again, if you want to lift those blocks up to another height, you are more than welcome to do so. Your practice, your choice. Find some nice, deep, long breaths here. You can be dynamic in your movement, you can be static in your movement, whatever feels good to you. Take one more inhale here. And then exhale, lift. Leg is going to go back, tuck the toes, child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward into your floating cobra, toes tucked, knees lifted, sink the hips low, chest and heart lift up towards the ceiling. Maybe the gaze lifts there also. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, ripples you forward, right foot comes to the outside of the right hand, sink down into that low lunge. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, straighten the front leg, sink the hips back, come into a half split. You can keep a nice bend into that front right leg here if that feels good to you in your body. I just want you to maintain that length into the spine, that hinge from the hip. Again, blocks are welcome to travel with you, coming up onto any different height that you like. You can be dynamic, you can be static. Just go to where it feels good to you in your body. Feel into it, especially in these first stretches that we come into. You can really take your time to really feel into them. Next inhale is going to pull you forward back into that low lunge, and then exhale, right knee joins the left back behind you, child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward, lift the knees, tuck the toes, floating cobra. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, round and ripple forward, left foot comes to the outside of the left hand, sink down for a moment into that low lunge. Inhale. Exhale. On your next exhale, tuck the back toes, straighten the left leg, half splits. Remember, that left leg is, that word straight is all up to you, so you can keep a nice soft bend into that left leg if that feels good. Keep that spine nice and long, pulling the chest and heart forward, hinging from the hip. That space where your leg and your torso meet. Allow them to kind of be compressed a little bit here. Notice the differences side to side. Perhaps the way that you warm up into each space, depending on what side you are on, is different. So just notice that. Next inhale pulls you forward. Next exhale steps that left foot back, child's pose. Inhale, round and ripple forward. Tuck the toes, lift the knees, sink the hips down. Chest and heart peels up towards the ceiling. Finding a little bit more space each time. Exhale, drop the knees down, sink the hips back, maybe peeling through the spine as you sink back to child's pose. Inhale, round and ripple forward, right foot steps to the outside of the right hand, low lunge. Inhale, chest and heart pulls through. Exhale, sink it back, half splits. Really nice. And inhale here to pull your chest and heart forward. Right hip draws back into the socket. Exhale, fold over. Inhale, rebend into that right leg. Exhale, you're going to backstroke through with that right hand to maybe reach around and grab that back ankle. It's okay if you don't meet the clasp. You can always draw that heel up and in towards the butt and keep twisting the shoulders around. Keep twisting through the spine. If you can catch that right back foot, by all means do. Draw it in towards your glutes, sink the hips down. Find the little ways in which you can make this pose your own. Maybe you don't have to take it to its deepest point right away. I'm going to be moving through this pose again, so feel free to just use this as a little warm-up round. One more inhale. And exhale, release that back leg, hands plant, right foot meets the left, back behind you, sink the hips, child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward, lift the knees, tuck the toes, floating cobra. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward, left foot comes to the outside of the left hand. Inhale, pull the chest and heart through for a moment. Exhale, sink the hips back, half split. Inhale, get long through the spine, maybe a little halfway lift here. Exhale, fold over that front leg. Inhale, ripple forward, right hand plants, left hand back strokes, back to maybe catch that back ankle. If it doesn't catch, remember, just keep drawing that heel in towards the butt. It'll be a bit more activation. Keep spiraling the chest and heart open. If you catch at the foot, by all means, catch it, sink in. Draw that heel in towards your butt, sink the hips down. Deep, long breaths here. Again, you can be dynamic. You can be still. Whatever helps you find some space, not just in your body, in your mind. One more inhale. Exhale, release it off. Hands plant. Left foot goes back to meet the right. Sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, round and ripple forward. Exhale, lift the knees, drop the hips, pull the chest and heart through. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, round and ripple forward. Right foot steps to the outside of that right hand. Inhale. Exhale, sink it back, half splits. Inhale, pulls you forward, backstroke through the right arm. Maybe you catch that back ankle, twisted lizard lunge. One breath here, inhale. And exhale. Hands plant on your blocks. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Right hand reaches up towards the sky, low lunge twist. Really nice. Exhale, hands plant, drop the back knee, right foot comes back to meet the left, sink the hips, child's pose. Inhale, round and ripple forward. Tuck the toes, lift the knees, chest and heart pulls through. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, round and ripple forward, left foot comes to the outside of the left hand. Inhale. Exhale, sink it back, half splits. Inhale, ripples you forward, backstroke through the left hand, reach around, catch the back foot, lizard lunge. One breath here, inhale. And exhale, release it off. Hands come down in front of you, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Left hand reaches for the ceiling up above you. Twisted low lunge, inhale. Keep revolving that spine, exhale. Sink the hips down. Hands come planting down, drop the back knee, left foot goes back to meet the right. Sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward. Exhale, straighten the knees, pull the chest and heart through, floating cobra. Exhale, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward, right foot comes to the outside of the right hand, inhale. Exhale, sink the hips back, half splits. Inhale, pulls forward, reach around to catch that back foot, twisted lizard lunge. Exhale, release it off, tuck the back toes, reach the right hand up towards the sky, twisted low lunge. Take an inhale here. And then exhale, right hand's gonna come down. Spiral down that back heel, start sinking the weight towards that left knee, coming into a skandasana towards the back of our mat. You can always stay up on your hands here. No need to sink all the way down. I just want you to keep that left heel nice and grounded here. So whether you're upright or whether you have the space and you can sink down, go to your depth. Find your position. Keep long through the spine, reaching through the crown of the head. Keep open across the collarbones. Really nice, long and tall and proud in this position. Take one more deep breath in. And then exhale, start walking your hands back towards the front of your mat. Plant the hands, drop the back knee, send the right foot back to meet the left, sink the hips down, child's pose. Inhale, round ripple forward. Keep the toes tucked, sink the hips, lift the knees, cobra. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, round ripple forward, left foot steps outside of left hand. Inhale. Exhale, sink the hips back, half splits. Inhale, come forward, reach around with the left hand to grab the back foot, twisted lizard lunge. Sink in for a moment. Next exhale, releases it off. Tuck the back toes, lift the left hand, twisted low lunge. Exhale, left hand comes down, spiral the back heel down, start bending into that right foot as you walk yourself back into your skandasana, back of the mat. Go and find your depth, find your position, keeping that right heel nice and grounded here. Find your depth. Take one more really long and deep breath here. Inhale. Exhale. Next, inhale, you walk yourself back to the front of the mat, plant the hands, drop the back knee, left foot goes to meet the right, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward. Knees lift, toes tucked, floating cobra, sink the hips down, soft bend into the elbows. Take a moment here, really pull the chest and heart through. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, round and ripple forward, right foot comes to the outside of the right hand. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, sink it back, half splits. Inhale, pull forward, back stroke, grab the back ankle, twisted lizard lunge. Inhale. Exhale, release it off, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, right hand reaches, twisted low lunge. Exhale, back heel spirals down as you sink, skandasana. Inhale here. Exhale, crawl yourself forward, hands or no hands, left foot plants, spiral to the outer edges of both feet. So both toes are facing that right side of your mat. Right hand reaches, high horizon lunge. Inhale here. Exhale, sink the hips down. Maybe that right hand reaches towards the bottom. Really feel like you're getting into that left and right hip. Inhale, extend the hips up towards the sky. Maybe that right hand reaches up and over the ear. And then exhale, hand plants, spiral the toes back to face the front of the mat. Drop the back knee, right foot meets the left, sink back, child's pose. Inhale, roll and ripple forward. Exhale, sink the hips, lift the knees, cobra. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, ripple forward, left foot comes to the left hand. Inhale here. Exhale, sink it back, half splits. Inhale, ripple forward. Backstroke through the left hand, twist around, twisted lizard lunge for one inhale. And exhale, release it down, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, twisted low lunge, left hand reaches. Exhale, left hand comes down, sink towards the back of the mat as you come into your skandasana. Inhale here. Exhale, start to crawl yourself towards the front of the mat. Right hand plants, all toes pivot to face the left side of your mat this time. Left hand reaches up towards the sky, high horizon. As you exhale, sink the hips down, low horizon. Left hand reaches towards the back of your mat. Sink in for a moment here. Feel that space. And then inhale, press down through the feet, lift the hips. Left hand reaches up and over the ear. Exhale, hand comes down, drop the back knee, send the left foot back to meet the right, child's pose. Inhale, round, ripple forward. Exhale, tuck the toes, lift the knees, floating cobra. Exhale, drop the knees, sink the hips back, child's pose, untuck the toes, sink down for a moment. Feel into all of that space that you've created in your body. Feel into all of that space that you've created in your mind. Couple of nice deep breaths here in this child's pose. And then next, inhale, draw yourself up into a tabletop position. Extend the right leg out long back behind you. And then as you exhale, draw it in towards your chest, kind of knee to forehead. And you're going to slide that right foot in front of the left. Left knee is going to tuck in behind the right. And we're going to sink into Gomukasana legs. So your feet kind of come out towards the outer side edges of your mat. And your blocks can be really nice and handy out in front of you here. All you can do is you can just start swaying space forwards and back here. Keeping that anterior tilt of the tailbone, so your sit bones are reaching back. You're hinging forward from the hips as you start to sink the hips back behind you. If you have the space to do so, you can sit all the way back. But remember, even if you are just staying lifted, pulsing just here, finding more space, that's a beautiful place to be. Go to your depth, find a stretch that works for you. Take a moment here to lift up. And then if you like, you can exhale, take a fold. I actually really like the rounding sensation here in Gomukasana, so I always kind of try and bring my forehead to my knee. But if you prefer to kind of send the sit bones back and stay really long through the spine and fold forward, you can do that. It can also be a really nice place to bring one of your blocks in, and you can kind of have it. I don't really think I have the space really to do it, but you can come forward and rest your head onto that block just for a little bit of extra support. I'm going to take more of a rounding option just because that feels a lot nicer to me in my body. So I just kind of draw my forehead to my knee, and it just gets into a deeper sensation in the backs of my hips. Another really nice variation that you can take in this pose is a twist. So you can come down onto the right hand, lift the left hand up and over the ear, and twist open, really spiraling the rib cage up towards the ceiling. Gaze comes up and under that left arm. And it can be a really nice sensation if you want a bit of a side body stretch. Wherever you are, find a couple of really nice deep breaths. In and out through the nose. Centering in. Next inhale, walk yourself back up to a seat. Little transition for you. You can press down into the outer edges of your feet. Always welcome to do this with hands. I think I did it with hands in a previous flow, but I will show you guys how to do it without hands here if you would like to see. So you press down into the outer edges of both your feet, and you're just going to kind of lift yourself up, spiral yourself around, keep twisting over towards the left. It's probably going to be really hard with this blanket underneath us, and then you keep going all the way to the left, and then maybe you eventually use your hands to sink yourself into Gomukasana side 2, so the other leg will be on top this time. You're also just so welcome to just shift yourself back into a tabletop position, extend the left leg, draw it in towards your chest, slide the left foot in front of the right, and then you end up in the same position. But if you want to be a little bit tricky and play with some transitions, that's always a fun one. So Gomukasana, side 2, stack the knees one on top of the other, sink the hips back. Get long through the spine to start off with. And again, you can take that fold where you stay really nice and long through the spine, sit bones way heavy back behind you, and you just hinge from the hip. Maybe you bring that block underneath your forehead to give it something to rest on, something to aim towards. You can also take the variation that I'm going to take where it's more of a rounding sensation, so your chin comes to your knee and you just kind of allow that rounding into the spine, sinking the hips really nice and heavy back. Again, that side body stretch is there for you as well. Left hand plants to the outside of the left hip and you reach that right hand up and over the ear, spiraling the rib cage open. Gaze comes up underneath that right armpit. So find your position and then allow yourself to sink into it. Allow yourself to really drop into witnessing those inhales and exhales. And every time maybe you notice that your mind starts to wander off from where it currently is in this pose, in this breath, it starts thinking about what it's got to do later in the day, later this afternoon, tomorrow, maybe something that it did in the past. Just come back to that breath. Come back to this present moment. And can you witness all that is happening right here, right now? Take 2 more nice deep breaths here. And on your next inhale, allow yourself to come up to a seat. Sink the hips back, release the legs just out in front of you. This can be a really nice moment to roll up your blanket a little bit just so you have a little bit of extra height on your sit bones. We're going to come into just like a seated straddle. So you can fold up that blanket just a little bit more. So it gives you a little bit of extra height. Sit your hips down onto that blanket and take your legs out fairly wide, not like your widest that you can go, just to a point where you can kind of find a bit of space, but also allow yourself to be at ease. You can bring your bolster or your couch cushion in at this moment. We're just going to bring it out in front of us. You can also use your blocks, make like a little ramp for yourself using your blocks here to give you something to really sink onto. If you want that extra space, that actually feels really nice. I might take that here. So just find a little setup for yourself. Keep the sit bones weighing nice and heavy back behind you, long through the spine. And set it all up and then just drop in. Allow release. Allow those props, the position to do the work. It's a quote that I really love, which is, just let nature do the rest. Set yourself up. Do all that you can do, and then just let nature take over. This is yin. These yin poses can be really wonderful at delivering that message. You get yourself all set up, put yourself into the pose, into its depth, into the position that your body needs, that it's calling for. You set yourself up with the props that you have, and then you simply sink in and come back to that little piece of nature that lives within you. Connecting down into your breath and just sinking into a state of being. So just allow yourself some time here to simply be. If at any point throughout the pose, as you start to sink in, you want to remove any props from underneath you and just drop down a little bit deeper, you are also welcome to do that. Feeling into how your body is responding to the shape, and if it's calling for a little bit more. This is a really beautiful practice in listening to your body. Knowing when it's time to maybe back out and knowing when it's time to maybe push a little bit deeper. Go a little bit further. Take 3 more deep breaths, yeah? Allow your next inhale to peel yourself back up to a seat. I'm just going to juggle my blanket just underneath me again. I kind of like the additional warmth and cushioning that it gives to my mat, dropping into some of these more chill postures. So we're going to take Jana shashasana as our next pose. So right leg can be extended, left sole of the foot is going to come to the inner thigh of the right. I'm going to use my bolster again because why the heck not? You can kind of just smush it up nice and close to you and then just allow yourself to drape over the top of it. You're also welcome to take this into a little side body stretch if you like. You can kind of extend that right hand and reach the left hand up and over the ear. Maybe catching for the back of the head. But again, just kind of taking whichever variation serves you in this moment. Setting yourself up and then allowing nature to do the rest. Take 3 more deep breaths here. Next inhale, draw yourself back up to a seat. And just switch it out. Take that left foot out, right sole of the foot is going to come to the inner left thigh. You sink that right hip back, bring the bolster into wherever feels good, and then go ahead and drape yourself down. Get all your little fidgets and adjustments out of the way. And then sink in. Again, coming back to that focus of the breath in this moment. And anytime your mind starts to wander, just gently bringing it back. Perhaps even counting the breaths if you know that helps. You can inhale for 1, exhale 2, inhale 3, exhale 4, all the way up to a count of 10. And then once you reach 10, you can start back at 1. It's just a nice way to give the mind something to focus on if keeping the mind focused in one place is a little bit more challenging. Again, if you're just enjoying being here, being still, feeling into this pose, being present and aware for your breath, then you can feel free to disregard that count and just drop in. And then when you're ready, just slowly pressing your way back up to a seat. Releasing the legs for a moment, maybe sending them both out in front of you, giving them a little shake, a little wriggle, whatever you need to do. Our next pose is going to be either a Sukhasana or double pigeon. So if you want Sukhasana, just go right shin in front of left, easy cross-legged, and you can just fold, having that bolster underneath your torso, fold over the legs if that feels good. I'm going to take a double pigeon if you would like to join me. Right shin is going to is going to stack on top of the left. Kind of bring your right ankle on top of that left knee, and then just slowly allow them to drop together. It's okay if the right knee is up somewhere a little bit higher, you can just work with that. If you do have them folded and you want to fold over, you can take that same thing, take the bolster in between the thighs and the torso, and then just allow yourself to drop down and drop in to your position, feeling the hips nice and heavy towards the mat behind you. And just round down. Find the fold, find the ease. Double pigeon can be quite an intense pose, so if you ever feel like you would like to come out and go into that nice Sukhasana, that is always a place for you to go. Again, tuning into our bodies to know maybe when is too far, when is too much. Finding that edge where you are tapped into sensation, but it's not ever too much that it's causing you to go into a flight or fright. And keep the body calm, keep the breath long and easy. We're just going to be here for about 5 more breaths. very gently just starting to peel yourself back up to a seat. Slowly releasing your props and releasing the legs. These moments of transitions, especially going into more hip focused areas, they can be very personal to counter for. So just notice what you need side to side to kind of neutralize and bring balance back in before you shift over towards the other side. And again, you can go into Sukhasana on the left, just having your left shin in front of the right, taking that bolster out in front of you, folding over. For double pigeon, left ankle's going to come onto right knee and you're going to stack the shins. Maybe take a moment just to allow that left knee to drop and to open. And again, if that left knee is up closer towards the chest, then just being in that space and allowing that opening to happen, not yet going into a forward fold or bringing the bolster in or really compressing the legs. You just want to allow that natural opening to happen. If you're someone whose shins naturally stack and you have a little bit more space into the hips and you want to take that fold, that bolster underneath the torso, between the legs and the torso can be a really nice place to go. Just allowing that. And also knowing that especially in our lefts, we're pretty asymmetrical beings, so our left and right sides can be drastically different. They can look very different, they can feel very different, so just trust that. Go to a place that feels good for each side. Know that they don't have to be the same. As you can see, I'm a lot more upright here on the left side. That's just one of the little quirks of my body. We all have our own little quirks of our bodies, and it's just how we work with those, and how we tailor our practice to suit. The one thing that we want to stay consistent throughout our practice is that awareness, that witnessing, coming back to that steadiness in the breath. Can you be consistent in how you show up consciously, presently? The external practice of yoga, the asana, can look very different and be very different for all of us. But the internal journey that we are all going through is shared. We are all just walking ourselves and each other home. And so no matter what your practice looks like on the outside or what other people's practices look like on the outside, know that the journey and the destination is one that is shared between all of us. We are all going to the same place. Allow yourself to drop in for 5 really nice deep breaths here. Slowly start to release. Remove your props and gently unfold the legs. Be really gentle, be really slow. Take the little moments of transition that you need. Sometimes it's nice to draw the knees together and just draw everything into one center. And just to close everything off once again. Finding that balance, extrovert and introvert. Yin yang, feminine, masculine. Next pose we're going to drop into is a deer twist, one of my favorites. So bolster's going to come back behind you. I'm going to shift over towards, I'm going to do it on the left side first just so you can see. So left shin comes out in front of you, right shin comes out, so you're making this little 90-90 position with the legs. Bolster comes out from your left hip. And you're just going to maybe get upright, get nice and tall through the spine, exhale, twist over towards the left, towards your bolster, and then go ahead and drape your upper body onto that bolster. You can keep your left cheek turned onto the cushion or bolster. If you want a little bit more, right cheek can turn down, and you're taking more of that twist. I'm not going to be here for a super long amount of time, but I just want you to take a moment here just to really unwind by winding up. These twists can be a really nice way to almost wring out your practice. Feel into that. Feel how the spine is twisting around in a really gentle way. And can you almost visualize as you twist, wringing out the entire practice, allowing everything to drip away. Settle in here for 5 breaths. On your next inhale, lift yourself back up. Find that length through the spine, and then release it off. Find center, and switch it over towards the right. Shifting over towards that right leg, getting your 90-90 position set up with both feet. Taking an inhale to get long, exhale, twist over towards the right. And then drape yourself onto your bolster. Right cheek can plant, or if you want a little bit more, left cheek can turn over towards the right. Just get your position, find your stretch, and then settle in. Five more deep breaths. And release. Slowly peel yourself back up. Take your time with it. Take a moment just on your sit bones. Maybe you bring your ankles in close towards you. Give yourself a nice tight squeeze. Nice hug. And I'm going to give you 2 options for Shavasana today. One, your usual Shavasana. Actually, I'll give you 3 options. I'll give you 3 options for Shavasana. Option 1, Shavasana. Option 2, Supta Baddha Konasana, on your bolster, on your couch cushion, whatever you've got. Place your cushion behind you, soles of the feet to touch. Lay your back on top, allow the knees to spread out wide. If you want to make this a little bit more gentle, you can always put your blocks underneath your knees. It's a nice place to go. If you are wanting to kind of feel into a little bit more space for your Shavasana, this is not going to be for everyone, so take it or leave it. Going to come into a wide child's or frog pose. So I'm going to take my blanket and just make it nice and wide because my knees are going to come off the edge and I have knobbly knees, so we need to protect those. And so I'm going to have my bolster out in front of me. I'm going to take my knees really nice and wide, ankles in line with my knees, kind of flex through the feet here, and then just allow my torso to just drape over my bolster. And just come into this frog position, and it's just going to open up a little bit more space into the hips, but I also just want this to be a moment where you can really drop in, so don't feel like you need to go to a super deep space. It's just there for you if you want to kind of allow a little bit more space to open up as you relax down. Just allowing wherever you are finding yourself for your Shavasana to draw you back home, in towards yourself, in towards Source. Feeling into the oneness and the totality of the universe. Just allowing yourself to rest in that space. Knowing that when you step on your mat here to practice, you not only show up for yourself, not only show up to create space for yourself, but the more presence and consciousness that you can bring into your being, the more you will be able to be present and conscious with others, and perhaps allow them to connect with their innate nature as well. So in this way, when you step on your mat here, you practice out of a love of your own being, but you also practice for all beings. Allow yourself to be here for as long as it serves you, for as long as you need. It is such a pleasure and an honor to practice with you here in this space. Thank you for being. And until we are able to do this again next time, namaste.